Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. Right, what we're going to be doing on this video is basically taking the chain out, having a look at the gearbox, the drive sprocket. What I tend to do is you can use the clutch holding tool, which I've got here, like so, and jam that onto one of the studs like that. Yeah, that'll stop this spinning. We need a 14mm, which that's not a 14mm. And what we do is we'll set this to undo. There we go. Oh, that's loose. That's very loose. Bloody hell. I would be very worried with this scooter if I was going to be riding that and putting my name onto that engine build. But what I've done is, I don't know if I showed you this on the video yesterday, just knock this washer and this washer out of the way. I mean, that should be dead tight. When that comes loose, it rubs on the inside of the actual side casing, and there are some marks on that inside. But you know, like I keep saying, the scooter is ancient, isn't it? So 60 years old. So we'll take the drive off, and yes, it's an Li125 one. Right, so what I suggest you do with these is, if you've got an original one that's in good nick, they're 10 times better than what you can buy nowadays with a separate washer on. They work the same, don't get me wrong, but the original ones are so much, I think they're stronger and they fit nicer. Well, you got this castle here, it's got to go, that's basically got to slide on there. If I line it up properly, there you go. So it just, to me, when you're under the spring and you're lining these up, these bolts with the washers built in, they just seem to work, where the Indian ones are a hell of a lot harder to line up. So right, that's our first bit off, and we'll just stand that there for the time being. What I'm going to do now is get this nut off, and I believe that's 22. Yeah, so again, I'm not expecting this to be very tight as well. Yeah, bit tighter, but still not tight. Maybe relying on the washer to stop it coming loose, I don't know. I'm just sort of hoping it hasn't got an Li125 gearbox in it, because that's again is more expense, nigh on useless. So right, these washers we're not going to be using no more. Keep that nut, take the clutch tool out, and this should all pull in, should pull. There we go. I was going to say, sometimes you get both bearings come out and sometimes you don't. So we just take the, yeah, there's the second bearing. What I would suggest you do is just stick them back on the clutch spider and stick it back in. And I've got shim, I've got 2 shims, so whoever built this engine have moved the actual clutch mechanism out to align the chain. I don't know how they've done that when that was that loose, but you know, it could have been undone. Like I say, I can't be too hard on people. So what I need now is a 10 to do that. I don't know if that's a 10. No, that's an 11. So that's a 10. They're tight. Bloody hell, I've never known them that tight. I'm trying to God, dear. You tell me. The things you expect to be loose are not, and the things you expect to be tight are not. So, you know, we'll put all this right anyway. That's why I'm not too bothered. I'm just praying that's not an Li gearbox. Right, so we've got these bolts we put back in again. We don't want to lose them, but the chain guide and the chain should come off now really easily. And again, we're not keeping that. Both of them renew. Unless they're in mint condition, don't reuse anything. Right, and there's our chain off. We can check the chain, or I can check that off of camera and let you know how far, but it looks like an 80 standard Li, and it's Regina, so probably stretched a bit over the years. I'll put that safe as well. Right, I need 11s now, which I'm getting greased up, so I'm moving this stuff out of the way. I'm trying to keep everything as clean as possible. Try and get you a bit closer than that as well and move that along. So we've got our gearbox end plate, and what we're going to do then is we're going to need our, if you remember from the video that I did yesterday, we need our bolts in here. And what you can do is you can just tap on they're made for tapping with a drive anyway, and what you do is, because you're pushing from the back, it tends to pull out at an angle, so what you do is just knock it slightly there to straighten it up again. But you'll see what I'm doing in a sec, like I've done before. So we've got, that's an 11. I'll stick that on there. And again, I'm not expecting these. I did notice there's a hell of a lot. I mean, that's wrong for a start. The end float on the gearbox, and I'll show you in a minute. I've got a Mark Broadhurst puller basically that pulls the Layshaft in. That Layshaft appears to be too big, too long. I mean, that shouldn't be flapping around like that. So that's a major scare, if you like. So what I'm going to do is just do them diagonally. So start on that one. You don't have to start. They're nice and tight. Yeah, that's good. And just crisscross them. There we go. Hey, that one's good. Once you've got the 6 of these off, just get a screwdriver bit again, and the screwdriver should take them off. Something's right anyway. We need to keep all of these. They're half nuts. Because they're loose, again, you don't have to carry on taking them off and left and rights and what have you. Like that, like so. What I should have done as well is take off the spline cover and the oil thrower from here. Which, because it's oiled up, is stuck. Right, they need putting somewhere safe as well. I've got itchy eye, excuse me. Right, so I've got one more to do. Weird how your train of thought slips out, isn't it? Right, I've got this little product because I want these washers off. Not that one. I need a hook one. That one will do. I'm using a hook. Just getting off the spring washers. and we've got our dowels in place. Right, so there should be 6 of each. I have noticed there's a little chip out there, not unheard of. Ideally you don't want any chips out of any of the gears, but it's perfectly usable. Not perfect, but not you know, not something, mind you, if it's an Li gearbox it'll be going in the bin anyway. Not fit to get any speed out of them. Totally unusable gearbox in my opinion, but you know, we've got racers out there probably say that they're doing 100 miles an hour on theirs, but like I say, the GP 200 gearbox, which is the same as a 125 with a different crown wheel and a different sprocket. Right, so let me find our bolts, which are in here. And I know we cleaned them up yesterday, so I'll just click that back in, because when I've used that they're going back in again. So again, these are the 10mm heads, and they should, yeah, I'm kind of hoping that all the threads are good for these. Amazing, isn't it? One goes straight in and one doesn't want to know that they were cleaned up yesterday. Yeah, both of them are in. So I need a 10mm again, which I think is that. Yeah. Put it on our socket. And what you're basically doing here, they're 2 dowels, locating dowels. You're working against them and you're trying to pull the back plate straight off. They never do. Just again, put them on. Hey, that's moving very, very loosely, but we'll hear it in a sec. You normally get like a I don't know if the camera can pick that up, but it's like a metallic noise. And all that is the dowel pulling against the dowel, and because this is acting like a speaker, it just amplifies. This is coming off really well. Right, what I'm going to have to do is just get a hammer and just give that a tap, because it's not coming out straight. If you look on the actual nuts, or should I say the studs, they're further out than these. These are, so it's coming out towards the camera, where that is further out than there. So if we just get a hammer and give that a tap, that should straighten up. So just give that a couple of taps. Yeah, that's moved around brilliantly. And then we'll carry on with the end plate without trying to kill myself. That's coming off straight now. Still a bit slightly at an angle, so we'll tap it again. Hey, we're through. So yeah, take off that. Just push the Christmas tree in on its bearing. Losing. That's the shim that's been put in. I will measure that up in a minute. And I don't know if I showed you inside there, that goes on the end. That was stuck in the end plate as well. So the bearing itself that goes in there, they all look like they've been changed. They look good, in really good nick. So I don't know who's shimmed up the gearbox, but that don't look right to me. There's too much play in that. Yeah, it's too far in. So I'm just going to clear the bolts and save them again. And that's funny because one dowel here is in the end plate and one's still in the casing, quite loose. And they normally are preened over in the gearbox end plate. I'll put that back in there. Now we get our gears out one at a time. Right, so I just want to put these extractor bolts back in where I know where they are, because we don't need them now. So what we're going to do now is slide off the gears. We need this end float washer, or whatever you want to call it, that goes under the bearing. We need that off because the gears don't come past that, they catch. Right, let's have a go. Straight off, dead easy. And I'm just going to have a count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 20, 21, 22, 23, 49. It's a TV 175 SX200 gearbox. Woohoo! That's not bad. That is not bad. That's actually excellent. So we don't have to buy a new gearbox for it anyway. We just might obviously have to make it shimmed. One thing people might not be aware of, that they're not sure how the gears go in. With Innocenti gears, they, especially the older Innocenti stuff, it has a chamfered edge. If you look on there, and that's designed to slide on, so you can't mess them up. If you put all the chamfered parts in that way towards your rear hub, all the gears will be lined up perfectly. This is a bit tight coming off. I've got a feeling that this this rear is not very good, because that's rock solid. They should slide on and slide off. That's really hard to pull. What I've got feeling is, because it's not been shimmed properly, and I can see the edge of this it's been mullered a bit, so it's splayed out and it's rubbing against the gears. The gears will push in, or they should do. I just use the wooden end of the hammer. See what I mean? They should push in and out, because the chamfered part will go over that. I wonder if we can just spin that around. There you go. Yeah, it's an early TV stroke SX200 box, and again, if we spin that around, it should come off, but it should slide straight off. You shouldn't have any problems. They should be nice and free. There you go. So I've got a feeling that that's a bit mullered. The edge of this is mullered on the Layshaft, and again, the gears seem fine. If you watched any of my videos before, you'll see basically what you're looking for is, you're looking at these leading edges here inside there. Let me put the thingy on so you can see. You're looking at all of these have not got any chips out of them. They look fine. No wear and tear indications on here. That's a good gear. So our fourth gear is good. I will just check. 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10. 7, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. It's a TV 175 SX200 gearbox. Superb. All right. Aha. And again, we've got 2 washers behind the Christmas tree, because this is not the gearbox from this engine. I would have said they might have had a bit of a problem. A lot of people, again, the amateur or the beginner I should say, you only need 1 washer normally on the Christmas tree, and what they do is they push it in, and you see what I mean, it doesn't turn, but what it does when you actually do this nut up, it pulls it slightly out so it spins. Yeah, and we've got a bearing in there as well. Superb. And again, that looks new. I'll put the 2 washers under there again. I think somebody's had a problem with the gearbox and tried to sort of try to balance it up, and maybe they didn't know what they were doing, because that is wrong for a start, and I've got a feeling that's the wrong Layshaft for that gearbox, so I'll have to either dig one out or buy one. What we can do is put these nuts and washers back on here so we don't lose them again. And what I'll probably do is I'll pull out, yeah, that's come out, pull out the locating dowel and stick it in the engine. That's it, and give it a tap. So they're back in there again. I will be changing that bearing there. All of the roller bearings will be changed. Right, put these rest of these on. A bit boring to watch, but at least we're not going to lose them. And I would say they have been, whoever's done the gearboxes, put new ones on, because they're not flat. Perfectly reusable washers. Again, I normally use, as you know, stainless steel, but they can be a bit strong. And there's my last washer. So I'll put the nuts on so we don't lose them. It's a shame they didn't put the part numbers on their Layshaft, so you know what you've got in there. I don't know, because I haven't got an Li150 gearbox around, or a 125 gearbox that I can just lay my hands on. I was just going to see if they were actually thicker, you know, physically thicker, because that definitely is too far in. And I've pulled the Layshaft in because I did, I don't know if it actually videoed yesterday, but when I'd put my finger on that and it was spinning, it was doing this, and it shouldn't have that amount of play in it. It's totally wrong. So right, we got all them in and on. Just stick that on. I just want to put them on about halfway down, because I will be cleaning this engine casing up. I'll be ordering the crankshaft. I'm putting a GP200 crankshaft in. Scooter's India standard one will be plenty good for this engine. And I worked out yesterday that it's as close to a 175 piston barrel as you're going to get without putting a TV barrel on it. The TV barrels are longer, they've got a longer crank. That's a standard Li Series 3 crankshaft, from what I can see, and judging by the length of the cylinder. Right, I'm looking for a 9mm. There it is. Got 9mm. What we're going to be doing now is taking off basically the mechanism that moves and selects the gears. So you've got a sliding dog, you've got a spring, and you can buy different strengths of spring if you find your bike's jumping out of gear. you can buy a stronger spring, so the little ball bearings basically lodge themselves in and it's harder to change gear. What another thing you can find out as well, if I push that back in, I need something really to push it back so that it's in fourth. It's not playing ball at the moment, but it should push in. I'll get a screwdriver and do it. Excuse me while I lean over. If we push that sliding dog all the way in, that's interesting. Yeah, it's on. What I was trying to show was, when it's fully back, these they're called pulls. They're little blocks that go in on the selector, touch the back, and what people do is they just take some of the outside metal off. These ones are shaped, but I mean, it's in a Centi, isn't it, so you would expect it to work. But what we need to do is bring it forward a bit. No, that's enough actually. There's a nut there, a bolt I should say, sorry, and it's a 9mm. So we'll get on that, take that off. That wasn't on too tight. That should be a bit tighter than that. Nice and free now. And the saddle itself, this part here with the pulls on it, is basically on. I do like the Li as opposed to the GP, because you have to line the GP up. Stick that on the socket again, that one. It's quicker than keep moving the ratchet around. So we need to keep this 9mm, and again put it back in the saddle, whatever you want to call it, stirrup, and it should have a washer on it, which it has. Hey, we're starting to find washers. So what I tend to do is, you can get a plastic bag over this, pull it forward, and what I'm expecting is the spring and the two ball bearings. Unfortunately, I can't see with the light where they are, so they could be at the bottom, they could be at the top, but what I'm going to do is just bring that out like so, put my hand there, and I've not lost anything so far. So I've got one ball bearing in my hand, the spring's dropped out now, and we should have another ball bearing if I turn that. There it is, it's on the bottom. I'll turn that back round and it should drop out. Oh, don't lose them. I have got loads, but put back the ones that came out. And as I was saying, you can buy these springs, so it's harder. What we're going to do now is just pull up this mechanism. Well, it's come straight out. Wow. They don't normally just slide out that easily. Right, so our mechanism's free. This is what I was saying about the Li over the GP. This is welded on a GP, where it's bolted on an Li. So you can just build that and then put your gearbox selector on. It's quite stiff actually. You can put that on in the right position to line up with your gears. So if you set it at neutral, make sure it goes into all the gears, and you can tighten that up. Bob's your auntie. A lot nicer to work with. Right, so the stirrup can come out. We've got a little washer. Again, don't lose that. What I'm going to do is put that back in like so and push it back in, so we can't lose our washer. And that one there, put it back in. I have got a few of these Li ones anyway, so if I did lose anything, it's not the end of the world, but I'm just tightening that up again. So that's our mechanism to keep one side. And these two, I need to put these back in as well, because I don't want to lose any of these. Now I'll spin the engine round in a minute. I just want to put all of the bits I've just pulled out into that little tin, because it's got a nice lid on it, barista coffee. So we'll put our bearings in, our washers, put them all in there, all of this in there, so we know where they are. Christmas tree's in good nick as well, no wear and tear on it. I say it's a shame on that. I did notice it on the first gear where you got the kickstart. Sod's law now, I can't, there it is. There's just a little tiny chip out of one part. I'm not going to get a gear to match that. It'll probably be a later jet or whatever. So putting all the bits in there, put the bearings in. These bearings from here, from the clutch spider, they can go in. I'll say they do look new. So clutch spider, gearbox to one side, and the gearbox end plate. Drive sprocket. Get the clutch tool out of the way. I just want to show you the MB tool. If you want to buy any Lambretta tools, definitely one worth buying is this. You can't really set a gearbox up properly without it, in my opinion. Mark Broader sells them on his site. So I'm just going to get these out of the way, tidy that up, and what I'm going to do is, should have the nut there, put that back on the Christmas tree, that way you're not going to lose it. Like so. It's on tight. So we've got our Christmas tree, our gearbox, everything is out. We'll just spin this around. I'll turn that around. And there's your MB tool up there. So we need a 27. I'll probably use the gun on that, or shall no, I won't. I'm getting too trigger happy with the gun, aren't I? So I'm just looking for the ratchet that's looking at me in the eye. So we should be able to hopefully undo that by, come on, there you go. And what it does basically is it mimics the hub being on. I'll show you what it does. Off the spline, you've got these that go in the spline, or a spline, so it locks in position on there like so, and then this nut pulls the Layshaft towards us. What you want is, you want on the inside of the Layshaft to basically run on the inside of this bearing, the rear hub bearing. So what you can do is put a nut on there and just knock that through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take off these, remove that, take the Layshaft out and use a puller on it. There's no reason for it other than I don't want to damage an Innocenti part if I don't need to. So I'm putting that back up there. But that is definitely worth the money. I recommend that. Anybody who's going to be building an engine, 200% well worth it. So let's put that nuts and bolts down on the floor so I don't knock them over. And then we want a 10mm again. That's our 9, isn't it? Yeah, we put the 9 away. And we want our 10mm again. That's an 11. believe that's our 10, isn't it? No, that's another 11. 10's already on. And what we're going to do now is just take off these 4. Looking at that, and then I'm not surprised something's been rubbing on that. At least they're done up tight, that's something. So we'll take these off the washer. Put it on the screwdriver again. I'm going to put these back on again because they go walkies and they're totally reusable. They're double, not half, nuts. That one's gone in there. Take off the washers. They do seem quite loose. Sometimes these washers they've been on so long that they just will not come off. They're stuck. And again, we can clean all this up off the scooter, so that should come off. What normally happens when the studs get tight and they preen in, so it's hard to pull this off. So I should be able to get a wedge behind there and just gradually work it off, like so. You can use a screwdriver. Just take your time again. You're not under any problem or any time problem to get in there. That's tight on that side, so there you go. Just using a tiny screwdriver on it, and you just working the 4 corners basically to get it off. If you've seen my own GP, I bought a stepped one of these because the MB, or some bearings, not just MB, some bearings sit slightly proud, and these are even worse then. So this gearbox end plate here, or bearing retainer, whatever you want to call it, has a cutout in it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that with the J line, the lunar line stuff like the Li125, they had stepped ones of these. So maybe that's where the idea came from, I don't know. Right, got to fall on the floor, hasn't it? Right. So instead of that being flat, it's that side that we're looking at. It's basically got an indentation so that when the bearings sit slightly proud, you don't get any issues. So now we've got the washer, and then behind that you'll have the bearing and the oil seal, rear hub oil seal, which is knocked into the bearing. I mean, that does turn nice, and I can't feel any play in that, so I don't know. I'll have a look, see if that's an original one or whatever when I take it apart. But what you can do now is just knock that through, put a bit of wood on it. So I'm going to have to put these bits and bobs out of the way for a moment, because we won't get the bearing out with the nuts in the way and the washers. So, but they are going to go back on that engine as soon as I get the Layshaft out of it, or drive shaft, whatever you want to call it. So put them on there, and I've got the washer and the one nut that I dropped on the floor, the obligatory one on the floor, and they're safe. I move all this stuff out of the way. I mean, what we can do as well, while we got this in front of us, is just to take off the shoes. I need circlip pliers again, and it should be these ones, if they fit. working at an angle again. That's it. I don't know what it is with the straight ones. I find them very hard to use, but the bent ones, maybe because you can push against it. So that's in. And take that off. I don't know what I'm going to do with this one because I've got nothing to work against. Maybe screwdriver on it, which is under there. Again, I wouldn't have done that. I would have changed it, but again, we don't know how old this stuff is. That's it. Then just put the screwdriver in there. Let's just ping off. It's just landed. What we can do is get a screwdriver. I mean, it's pretty dry, very dry, caked up. Just put a screwdriver in there underneath here. Don't go mad again, and if they don't move, get some heat onto them. Made in Italy, they're not original, but they've got quite a lot of meat on them, so they will be reused when they're cleaned up. So I'm gradually just working out with a screwdriver, if you can see, work that at the top, and I'm working when they clear the mechanism, the spring will close it, and then we'll just be able to pull them off. I do see a lot where this part's broken because people go mad with a hammer. You don't need a hammer. Just go slowly like I'm doing, bit by bit. Yeah, and then go on here and here again. And there again. They are quite tight on the posts. And that spring there is going to go into the solution over there to get rid of the rust off of it. Perfectly usable, reusable I should say. So we're nearly there. So I don't think these are going to be much more until they clear. There you go, that's cleared. They should come off now, but they are quite stuck. That one's moving more than the bottom one. There you go. You can see how tight that is. Very, very tight. But we'll get rid of the spring off there. And the spring can go into that. Sorry, solution that I've got on here. That's been bubbling away for a couple of days. The citric acid basically gets rid of all the rust and leaves the metal in tip-top condition. There. If I can get the lid off of it, of course. It's coming. There you go. I mean, I can't really show you that, but that's some of the crud that's come off of the odd bolts and nuts I've got in it at the moment. See if I can fish something out with a hook before I put that spring in. Let's get a hook. You know, because it's been subarctic temperatures, you can't really see a lot, but again, that was encrusted in thick rust. I'll get a knife on that and just clean it off a bit. Should have cleaned these off a bit better than they are actually, because they are the worst one to pull out. It's full of grease basically. But that one there, that'll give you an idea of that solid rust, and it's not anymore. I'm not finished with it yet anyway. I'll just pull out something else that hopefully the spring, the rear hub spring was painted, wasn't it? So what about these? if we remember from, I think it was the first or the second video, how rusty these were. And if I just take off a tad, maybe wipe it a little bit, and you'll be able to see the condition that they come back to. And like that, you see. I mean, I should have spent some time degreasing them. It's not fair on the solution, basically, because it won't touch grease. Anything organic it won't touch, or if it does, it'll take years to get there. But yeah, where I've gone under the grease, it will give you an idea of how rusty these parts were. So if you look there, that's what it was like. And can you see the metal now? And I believe these parts were just boiled in oil. They weren't painted. They're just literally dipped in oil and boiled, and the oil then seals it. So what we would see on the bike, you know, compared to what it was when I took it off, totally reusable.